Rolling. Number 224. Let me look again to be sure. Yes, 224. We have a request too from Our Lady from the next state up. Send God's love to Jennifer Morel. And so we'll send her extra love. Elfrida, you remember she came all the way from Utah to be here one Wednesday night. She called and left a message on my tape. Asked us to think of...
She was nice. She was nice.
Yes, she is. Let's start with having a quiet time tonight. Let's close our eyes, take a deep breath, feel our body relaxing. Think of our mind becoming at peace and centered on this moment and this place. Turn loose of the day in the outer world and bring your full attention to the circle of light, and see this circle of light getting brighter and brighter. And think of all of our balcony friends gathering. They're coming in. Your teachers and your guides are here with you. And our teachers from the higher realms of divine love and light are reaching down with their beautiful, loving thoughts to make contact as we reach up. Thank you, Father.
At the same incarnated.
When I said, I knew it was going to be busy today, so yesterday I thought I'd better sit down. And, oh, by the way, somebody asked if the writing was channeled too. And for everyone's information, the writing is channeled. Because I had no idea what the title or anything is going to be, and the word prayer came, and I thought, well, that's used so much, but I wrote it down. That's what came. And here's the writing. It says, many speak of prayer, most pray amiss. Prayer of supplication is the prayer of many on your planet, asking God for something or condition for yourself or someone else is praying amiss. My dear ones, you already have all that God is and has. You may not be fully aware of this truth, for most have been conditioned to think in terms of lack and deprivation. The masses on your plane have been brainwashed into thinking they are not worthy of God's kingdom that contains all. All are created in the image and likeness of God that set the force of life into motion, into being. As a child of God, one with Him in every way, you have all that God is and has, including the ability to create. He has given us free will, an irrevocable law that God Himself cannot break. Creation is manifested through the mind. I should put on before that, on your plane, creation is manifested through the mind with the prism of thought. With the ability to create and the freedom to think as you will, you have created everything you find in your life, including the illusionary concept of lack. How many, you may not consciously know this, it is nevertheless the truth. So asking God for something that you already have is praying amiss. I have 2 pages almost. Yes, we know that for the most part, you are not manifesting your God-given abilities through the misunderstanding of the laws eternal. The lack of conscious awareness, conscious understanding, has come about because you have set aside the memory of who you are, who you truly are, by giving your thought and attention to the illusionary concepts you have brought into your awareness. Life force follows thought. You have given life to these illusions. Illusions do not have the power of eternal creation. They remain as a mirage as long as you give them thought. Withdraw the thought, and they go back to the nothingness from which they came. As you begin to remember the true reality of your being and stop supporting the illusion of lack, you can then bring forth your divine heritage and create all that your heart desires. You can then make conscious contact with your Heavenly Father that dwells within you, with sincere gratitude, and thank Him for the life that you are within Him. That is our writing for tonight. Good evening, my dear ones. This is Don, coming to you in this light circle with joy in my heart and a beautiful thought of each one of you who are here and each one who are not here. I tell you, your vibrations of love and light do shine forth on this plane of dimness and darkness in so many places. You who are striving to move higher in consciousness know the reality, to a certain extent, the reality of your being. Before I get too far into thoughts, I would say that Elva will bring the class tonight, and I release to this beautiful soul.
konjun mal ay tumitsalat ko hari man hisi at oti we can with that England we got to lift that in
God bless you, my dear ones. It is indeed a privilege and a joy to be with you and to make this contact. When we come into your circle of light, the vibrations of you and each one in the room and your teachers and guides and those in the balcony all come together into one bright shining circle of light. I want you to know this and to realize that when you sit in this circle, you include many, many more than you see with your physical eyes. And if you have one, like the one who was asked to send God's love to, if you have one that you would like to share what you have, you might think of seeing them in this circle if they are open and receptive to this kind of thought. Using your inner image, and it helps to bring them in a sense, and you may be surprised when you talk with them again if they bring forth words that are said in the message and questions that are asked. The subject matter tonight of prayer is one that is very misunderstood on your plane, and especially in this country. The organized religions, for the most part, do pray with sublimation, as it is called, pleading and asking God for the things that they want and feel that they do not have. This is praying amiss. It is declaring your misunderstanding of life's abundance. You see, my dear ones, the real truth, the eternal truth, is that life is abundant everywhere present. It does not appear so in many places on your plane because you have free will. Everyone on your planet has free will, and they have created the conditions in their lives through many lifetimes and have come back over and over again with the concept of lack and feeling of unworthiness and guilt. And they keep these thoughts going, and this creates, when it is a group of people especially, for example, a country who has been war-torn and they have lost their homes, this makes a deep impression on them. And when they graduate from this plane, they take this with them. And if they incarnate again, they bring back, most do, this same thought of lack and deprivation. This feeling and thoughts create the conditions in their life. You who are in the circle, most of you have learned how to manifest that which you desire, and you are manifesting a much better life than you had. You are learning that you create everything, not just part of your life, but everything in your life. No matter what others do or do not do around you, you have brought the conditions into your life, when you can face this and be honest with yourself about it, then you know where to work. You work within yourself and your consciousness to bring about the consciousness that you want. For it is through your consciousness that you manifest whatever is in your life. The word consciousness is also misunderstood, and it is the collective thoughts of your existence, not just in this incarnation, but in many incarnations. And this is where you live, is in your consciousness. And your belief system is another way of saying it. Whatever you believe, or as the Master said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And so, as you think in your heart means your patterns of thinking, and not just your random thoughts, as Donald says, but your patterns of thinking over and over that has created this level of consciousness in this certain aspect of your consciousness. And when you believe in poverty, because you have been in poverty, and so many on your planet have created these conditions from many lifetimes in the past for themselves and are now reaping it, knowing not that they are doing it, they continue to go around in this vicious cycle of continuing to believe that others are depriving them of the good things of life. Others have no power over you unless you give it to them. And many on your plane do not know this, and they give power to dictators and rulers and the conditions that they find in their life, not knowing that they have the God power within them to overcome this. And it is ingrained within them very deeply, this belief in lack. So as your planet is raised up in this new age and accelerated, you find that many do not reincarnate who have this feeling of lack. And in the centuries to come, there will be those who incarnate on your planet who have the understanding of abundance and bring about the things to create abundance, because this is called the golden age, where there's an abundance of everything. And in your country, for example, you do have much, much more than you had, let us say, 50 years ago. You have many more appliances, many more conveniences. You have more money to spend if you will stop to think, even though your television and radio talks about the recession and everything. Still, you have so much more than you had in the 20s and early 30s. And I want to draw this to your attention. Your country and other countries like yours have brought up their race thought to a better level of understanding abundance. There will always be, for a while, those who live on the streets, who do not want to go forward in their understanding, and so they are going backward. You cannot stand still, my dear ones. And when you step aside from the mainstream of life by living on the street, living it with welfare, not trying to get out of these old ruts, then you have stepped aside from the mainstream of life and feel self-pity and guilt and many other things that keep you in this deep rut of so-called poverty that keeps you with a misunderstanding about the laws eternal. I say to you, when more learn the reality of their being and understand their heritage, their divine heritage, and even you in this circle and those in the balcony who are listening, when you start putting this into practice more, and some of you are already manifesting the things that you want in your life, then do you move into your golden age in consciousness. You who desire to stay with the planet and be here as the planet is raised in consciousness to a much, much higher vibratory rate that makes it a sun instead of a dark reflecting planet. You who desire this and who keep your thoughts moving forward, improving a little each day, and keeping up with the acceleration of the planet and this part of the galaxy, will have a wonderful and beautiful experience where I cannot in your language and words even begin to describe to you the great joy and elation that comes with the raise in vibration that this planet is doing each day. And in 100 years from now, your planet will not be the same. And in a few hundred years from now, you would not recognize your planet if you were looking at it from your point of view at this time. When you make contact with the Creator of life, do it with joy, not with sadness. So many, when they go to pray, they wait until they have problems that are overwhelming them, and then they go and cry out to God for help. And God is helpless to help you, to help those who know not the truth of their being, for they are just adding to their problems by repeating their belief in lack, by repeating and giving power with emotion to their so-called problems, making them larger. It is all illusion, yes, but to them, as long as they believe in it, it is real at that moment for their life and their living. Even though most on this planet is illusion, as long as you are living the illusion, it appears to be real to you. And this is why it is difficult for so many to accept this thought and truth that your plane is mostly illusion. The contact tonight is a bit halting, but it contains much truth. I would say to you to send love into yourself and to the contact, remembering that each one of you are as much a part of the channel as the one who speaks. And when you bring thoughts of love and light and beauty and joy into this room, and feelings of love for yourself and all of life, then are you making the contact bright and shiny. Then are you lending the vibrations of divine love to this circle of light that brings about a very good contact that can bring forth the wisdom of the ages, the wisdom that has always been here, but you have forgotten it. You have known it many times, and through destroying civilization after civilization, where you have grown much, much higher than you are now, and much higher than any civilization you know of, and have destroyed the whole civilization and all the records contained in it. And so you start all over again. And some of you have done this many times and have been with this planet and gone through this experience. It is not bad. It is what you need, or you would not have done it. It is, your foundation has to be solid and firm before you can build the spiritual structure that can hold you up. The understanding of the laws of life have to be there in your consciousness with firm belief and knowing, not just book learning, not just hearing it through a channeling such as this, but experiencing it in your life and working with the laws of life to manifest those things in your outer life that you want in your outer life. This is a good exercise to bring about the belief and understanding that life is abundant everywhere present, and that the only thing that keeps you from the things that you want is you yourself, my dear ones. This has to be brought home to you over and over for you to understand it, for you to realize it, for you to know it, so that you can change that which you do not want and eliminate it from your thinking patterns and eventually from your consciousness, and be in the main flow of the reality of life. God is a beautiful God. He is never an ugly, vengeful God as so many believe him to be. God is love, divine love, unconditional love. He never condemns you for anything, and you need not think that you're ever out of his grace, for cannot be true. It is only you that are working against yourself. And when this knowing, and I use the word knowing because you might read about it and know about it, but until you experience it, you know not the real truth. When the knowing takes shape in your consciousness and the foundation is strong and solid to keep it there, then it doesn't matter what happens in the outer life. You can handle it because you know the truth, and it need not touch you in your consciousness. Yes, physically, you have certain experiences. Physically, this happens around you and sometimes even to you. But my dear ones, this matters not. But it does, it so does matter how you think about it, how you react to it. If you remember the truth, then you do not let it get you down. You stand firm on the foundation, the solid foundation that you have built, and let nothing come near you in your consciousness, no matter what is happening in the physical. Over and over, we have told you that the physical is not real. It is illusion. It is just a play on a stage, and you have chosen to play many parts, and have played many parts in the past and may play many other parts in lifetimes to come. It does not matter, my dear ones, whether you are a plumber, a disc digger, or the leader of a country. It does not matter. Those things are just of the physical, but in a spiritual sense, it matters how you handle what's in front of you, what is happening in your life, how you think about it, how you react to it. And there are so many reactions that are very subtle that sometimes you're not consciously aware of them. When your physical is not doing so well and is giving you some kind of problem, you wish it would not. And this feeling, you see, is a negative reaction. When you realize that somewhere in your past, in your consciousness, you have built in the conditions that brought about whatever you're dealing with, then you are grateful for the experience, no matter how it appears to be in the outer physical world, and you thank God for this experience and raise your consciousness, declaring your rightful heritage to know the truth about the situation. You need not plead with God for understanding, for the understanding is within you. You need only to know this and to open your heart and your mind to it. It does come forward when you do it in this way. But when you give power to the negative, when you give power to those things that happen to you that give you pain and give you bad feelings and things that make you depressed, when you give power to this, then you are increasing that which you really do not want. Your opportunities are all around you on this physical plane. That is the way it is set up, and you, my dear ones, have set it up to be this way, to learn and to grow. When you are at your lowest ebb, if you can remember that you are divine, that you are one with God and made in His image and likeness, and call on this power within you and call on it with knowing and feeling and emotion of great strength, it does come forward. but you cannot waver. When you waver and think, well, I hope it happens, or something like this, or let some kind of thought like this in it, you see you let a little chink in your armor, you let a little crack in there, in your foundation that undermines your ability to bring it forth. It must be done with complete knowing and understanding of who you truly are. When we started the lesson tonight, you may not have thought it was a very powerful lesson, but it is very, very important, where it lies at the crux of how you are held and bound to these lower levels, lifetime after lifetime. These reactions to the play on the stage, when you can look at it and laugh at it and say, I know this is not real, I need not be disturbed, I am having pain, so what? I am a child of God, and I have the power that God is, and I call it forth to banish these illusions. My dear ones, as you learn to do this over and over with all your might, I declare to you, you manifest that which you desire, truly desire. And the other illusionary parts fall away, and you are standing in the pure white light of God's truth. Remember this: when you stand in the pure white light of God's truth, nothing can come nigh you. But if you leave open a little crack, then the negative and darkness can come in to adulterate your light. And then if you give power of thought to this in a negative way, then the light vanishes, and you are dealing again and wrestling with your misconceptions about the laws eternal. This may seem to you tonight to be a negative message. I do not mean it to be so. I mean to speak to you this evening very plainly, for in this group and in those in the balcony, and your teachers and guides are learning right along with you, in all that are here, I see the need for these words. I see the need to speak plainly to you. And when we get down to the nitty-gritty of the real truth and talk to you about the untruth in plain language, then maybe you can see it, maybe you can hear it with the inner eye, with the inner ear. And if you listen with the light of truth, then you hear the message. Then do you start living the life of your heritage, your divine heritage. I have spoken very plainly to you this evening, and it is not a usual message that I bring you, but it is a message that is necessary. For as we spoke a few weeks ago about the very subtle things in life, this again hits on that. For there are so many subtle feelings and thoughts and moods and attitudes, desires, that all come under the heading of thought. Again, the writing said, life, our creation, is brought forth from the life force of God through the mind with a prism of thought. And if you stop to think about what this really means, it says that God is continually pouring forth the real truth, the reality of life. But as you think the thoughts about what is happening around you, you mold and shape the patterns in your mind to distort and adulterate this real truth and make it much less than it is. When you can recognize this and set aside your pride and with all humility know that God is there speaking to you all the time through your teachers and guides, through these messages that come on Wednesday night, in many, many other ways. He is talking to you, giving you the truth. And when you take your attention away from the illusions of your physical plane, you can hear the truth. But you must take the time to do this every day and do it enough so that it becomes a new pattern, a pattern that is filled with light instead of dark and dimness, a pattern that lights up that divine being within you and gives you the power to overcome anything this world can throw at you. I tell you, you have that power if you use it, but you must use it. God cannot do it for you because He has given you the freedom. And the reason that He has given you the free will is that you are on your way to becoming as He is, to becoming God's. And without your using the spiritual truth to overcome the illusions and darkness of these lower realms, you do not know the truth. You know nothing until you experience it. This is why you are here on these lower realms, is to have the experience and see through it and know the truth, and the truth sets you free from the misconceptions about the laws eternal, the illusions that you've been brainwashed with for so many, many lifetimes and years. I feel that this is enough of speaking in this way. If you remember what has been said and can go over it and be honest with yourself, and this is another thing that's involved with your hearing the truth, is learning to be honest with yourself. It's much easier to be honest with others than it is to be honest with yourself. When you are honest with yourself, you see and hear yourself talking in a negative, thinking in a negative, a guilty or self-pity or whatever way that is less than God's truth. The honesty is a part of divine love, and especially to be honest with yourself. Shall we pause at this time and give you opportunity to ask questions and to speak forth please feel free to join in with this message tonight and make your contribution by asking questions or making statements of your experience. Are there thoughts or questions this evening?
We've got to see God in every single person. I remember, I know that, for instance, not so long ago, I looked at a woman and I thought she was just ugly looking. But you know, she wasn't ugly at all. She was beautiful. Beneath that physical outer self, there is a deep, deep peace and godlikeness that I found. And I find it's there if I only look. If I only look.
Yes, and Annabelle, let me interrupt to say that you cannot see it in others unless you have it in yourself. This is the key. You see, when you have it within yourself, then no matter what the outer appearances are, you can look within and see God everywhere present in all you come in contact with.
I heard my brother talking the other day after he had gotten back from Mayo's, and I don't know, I think they gave him a shot of understanding, because he feels the voice was one of much younger than he has been showing me. I feel he's finding his own self very much.
Yes. And everyone will. There will be no one left out.
That's the basic part of it. That everyone is already his God self.
That's correct. And they will have the realization whenever they decide to. Everyone has their own timing as a statement, but the timing depends on the individual. And when they get tired enough of the old story of lack and deprivation and feeling that life is working against them, when they get tired enough of this, then they have the opportunity to awaken to the truth. And
I remember my taking my sister-in-law for granted and going over to see a friend of ours, and when the friend looked at my sister-in-law, I saw intense beauty between those two people that I had been missing.
yes,
And I was very thankful for it, because I see her as she is, beautiful.
everyone is. Most do not know it on your plane, but it is still within them. And if you have it within you, you can see it, even if they do not know it. And in your looking beneath that outer exterior to see the God being within can help to bring it forth in the outer if the other is ready. You need not say a word, but just seeing and knowing the truth of that one can help to bring it forth. Are there other thoughts or questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
Earlier, you said that we needn't, or I should say, did I understand you correctly, to say that we need not ask for understanding in prayer because we already have it? We just have to open up and...
This is correct. This is praying amiss. When you ask God for anything, you are praying amiss. You ask yourself and declare the rightful heritage that you are. Until you know the reality of your being, you will continue to go in circles, asking this one and that one and asking God and not getting what you want, because what you want is within you. You already have it and know it not. It is like the man standing knee-deep in water and dying of thirst. Do you understand?
I'm not sure. I have done a great deal of reading, and it was my understanding that the primary purpose for, or I should say one of the primary purposes in meditation is to make the contact with the Creator, and by doing so, we effectively raise our own vibrations and increase our level of understanding.
This is correct. But you need not ask. I don't know why you turned it around now. You want to get on with it.
They didn't talk too much.
I have a copy of this
All
one.
right.
Thank you.
Much confusion resulted.
Well,
I don't have a lot in there.
You don't?
Definitely. So nice to see you, Connie. Oh, I gotta have a hug here. Very much so.
I needed it.
I'm teaching my son. It's like the men's
Only
group. Well, he always comes up with a problem, you know? I said, well, let's forget the problem and find the solution. Yeah.
Yeah, city bad. And with that, he thinks that, like, that, you know, bad in the nose, that he that's current out the need. And the time and they make us need to know.
What's her questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
Earlier, you said that we needn't, or I should say, did I understand you correctly to say that we need not ask for understanding in prayer because we already have it? We just have to open up and...
This is correct. This is praying amiss. When you ask God for anything, you are praying amiss. You ask yourself and declare the rightful heritage that you are. Until you know the reality of your being, you will continue to go in circles, asking this one and that one and asking God and not getting what you want, because what you want is within you. You already have it and know it not. It is like the man standing knee-deep in water and dying of thirst. Do you understand?
I'm not sure. I have done a great deal of reading, and it was my understanding that the primary purpose for, or I should say one of the primary purposes in meditation is to make the contact with the Creator, and by doing so, we effectively raise our own vibrations and increase our level of understanding.
this is correct. But you need not ask for anything that you already have. This is the misunderstanding that is so interwoven in so many of your religions. Know that you already have everything that God is and has. All you need do is declare the truth of this knowing and bring it forth. Let me give you an example of the master teacher when he was teaching the multitudes, and they were hungry, and there was no food except the lad who brought a fish and a little bread, and he took this. He did not even need this, but he took it for the people's eyes and multiplied it and fed the multitudes, because he knew his source and that he is the source. You, my dear one, are the source of all that you desire, for God is the life force that you are. You and God are not separated. When you go to God and ask him for something, you are separating yourself from God. Can you see this?
Are you saying effectively then that prayer is basically asking and we need not do that?
Prayer is not, true prayer is not asking. Prayer is declaring the truth.
It's gratitude.
Gratitude is one way of declaring the truth, being grateful for the abundance that I am, that life is, that God is, that dwells within me. It is difficult, for we have been programmed for so long to plead and ask God because we have been taught that we are poor sinners that are not worthy. This is leading individuals into more darkness, and it is a trap that is difficult to escape from.
So I think basically what you're saying is we've got another problem with the language here. We've been taught that this word means this, and that this word prayer is has this particular function, and it doesn't necessarily.
Well, just because the masters think that prayer is supplication, is asking God for things, for peace of mind, for his love, they already have it, you see. They already have everything in the kingdom. The kingdom of God is being held out to you at all moments. But when you do not reach out and take it, then it is your doing, your free will that you have used. And when you give your attention to the illusions of lack and feel lack and think that you have to go to God and pray for abundance, when the life force that you are is abundance, you see, this is the misunderstanding, and this is the great message to those on this plane. And the golden age will bring forth those who learn and understand this. It has been brought forth to a certain extent already on your planet. You have much, much more than you had 100 years ago than you have now. That you have now much more than you did a century ago. You have more abundance of everything available, but there are still those who are starving. And they are starving because they have the consciousness of lack instead of the consciousness of abundance. It is not the politicians, it is not the dictators or anyone who steals from them that deprives them. It is they themselves that deprive themselves, for they know not that they are the source.
Then it would be proper to command the God force to come forth that is within you, or the peace of mind, or whatever it is that you seek.
You are the God force, yes. And to bring it forth by knowing who you are and declaring the truth. And when this is done with full confidence and knowing, then it is manifested. As Donald has said, and many of your teachers have said, a master of your plane can stretch forth his hand and materialize an orange, for he knows his source, or materialize anything that he desires to, and it comes forth immediately. You do this, and let's take the orange for example. You do this by planting a seed and growing a tree, and through time, then you have oranges on your tree. The master knows the source and goes directly to the source and bypasses the illusion of duality called time, knowing that it is not real. Do you understand? Can you relate to this?
Does it mean that the Master knows that he's Christed?
That he's what?
That he is Christed. That he is part of the source and therefore he's everything as the source is.
Yes. The Master knows who he truly is. He is God. You are God. We are all God. There is no separation. You see, your duality concept separates you from God, separates you from knowing that you create whatever is in your life through a misunderstanding of the laws eternal. And when you bring this misunderstanding into your consciousness with a strong, solid, firm foundation, now, what is the foundation built of? What's the ingredients?
Love. Unselfish love.
That can be part of it.
Unconditional, contagious, torrential, universal, divine love.
That is true. But the ingredients of your foundation is understanding.
Yes.
Understanding the eternal laws of life.
Feeling them.
Knowing them.
Knowing them.
Not
yes.
just...
but when you have to know, when you know, you feel it.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
And when you know...
You experience it. You aren't like the person looking into a bakery shop with his nose against the glass. You go in and smell it and taste it.
Yes, and when you know it, then you manifest it. And until you know it, you have to do it the hard way.
We have some very dear friends, but they think that some of us aren't religious because in about 1893 went over to India, and he found this to be true, these things about people being able to travel.
Yes. We all have the abilities that everyone has. It is a matter of knowing it. It is a matter of acting upon your knowing. It takes
conviction.
It takes conviction, yes. And to get the conviction, you have to eliminate the illusion. See, because the misconception holds you to the illusions of life, and you have to eliminate that in your consciousness. And that's what many of the classes here at the center are about. It is just a beginning step, but it is a very important beginning step to realize that you have the power over your mind on all levels of your mind to bring it in alignment with your God being. Then can you raise your consciousness to whatever level that you desire.
Your God self is weightless, invisible, and invincible, is it not?
Yes. Your God self is life, and life is everywhere present, not divided, no division. You and God are one. You have all that God is and has. And those, as the Master Teacher, have demonstrated, they demonstrated it only to teach you that you have it. And instead of seeing this truth, they wanted to worship the man.
Jesus told his disciples not to worship him, and
Yeah.
yet the churches all are worshiping Jesus.
Yes.
I don't say all of them, but many of them.
He made the statement, "It is not I the man that doeth the work, but the Father within." And
Those people say, I follow the Bible word for word, but
well, that's where they are, Annabelle, and we need not be concerned about that. We are concerned with our own consciousness. And we come to the classes like this not to argue religion or some other one's concepts, but to learn to raise our understanding
thank you.
and bring it forth into greater light.
We are like Aladdin and had the magic lamp. All we have to do is rub it in the right spot and the genie will appear.
Many of these things, you see, are fables, but they are true.
The fables do treat all of this stuff.
It is one who knows the truth that writes the tale, and eventually it sinks into the consciousness and is brought about in reality. You have been given much this evening, and I tell you this, that if you will hear what you have been given, and if you give enough value to what you have heard, and bring it into your consciousness, to take what you think of as time, and give enough value to take the time to bring it into your understanding, then you can move forward rapidly and go with this planet and the golden age that you are into and going with now. You are beloved to all of us. We wish you to know this, for so many of you feel a lack of love. You are not separated from us. We are all one, and we love ourselves because we know that we are God, and we are loving God. And when we love ourselves, we're loving you because we're one with you, no matter what level of understanding that you are on. Remember this, and let this divine love be multiplied within you to bring about the great light of understanding the reality of your being. God bless each and every one of you, and good evening.
And thank you.
You can in another place for you. Don't worry.
Please, will you talk very loud on what comes next?
Talk very loud.
And this when we have the circle.
Hooked up, you put your ears on while you can hear.
When we have the circle, will you talk loud so that it gets onto?
Get on the microphone over there if we stand around it.
I know it, but it needs to be louder than it has been. Because that's one of the best things in the whole evening.
In your concept, yeah. Leave your ears on. Because it's still hooked up and this is working, you see.
Yes.
We missed about 5 minutes of tape because I got caught up in discussion and I was watching.
I'm sure it didn't seem like very long at all.
No, it didn't.
I heard you turn the tape over.
Yeah, it had stopped. It had been stopped about 5 minutes.
Oh, really? That long?
Yeah.
But that's picking up for the mic, though. Oh, you mean?
The sound still goes through the mic and register it, but the tape is not on.
If the red light is going across, then the
It still goes across whenever.
It's not. It may not necessarily be recording.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that because that's what I looked for.
No,
tape's got it.
even when it's not recording, it's
Oh. Don, you've been close to God today. It's all over your face.
Yeah. I've been working with God things today. Shall we stand and hold hands? I want to. Let's feel ourselves coming together in the physical as we hold hands and bring down the spiritual understanding that is within us. Bring it out to our conscious awareness and allow ourselves to be the God being that we already are. We are God's, fully God's. For God has made us in His image and likeness. And as we realize this more and more, we create and manifest our life in a God way, as God beings. Thank you, Father. I don't know why you turned it around now.
You didn't talk too much.
I gotta have a copy of this
All
one.
right.
Much confusion resulted.
That's why that's it.
I don't have it out with me.
You know?
Definitely, so nice to see you come. Oh, I gotta have a hug. Very much so.
I need to.
I'm teaching my son. It's like the men's
Only
group.
you
But I'm
Well, he always comes up with a problem, you know? I said, well, let's forget the problem and find the solution.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.